After last season's electric play-in games, the NBA is bringing them back. One of the most outspoken critics of the play-in last season was LeBron James, but Commissioner Adam Silver says King James is on board with their reprisal. Silver telling TMZ, "We talked about it. I think at the end of the day, I understand, especially if you went deep last year. You have that end. You have that many sort of games on your legs. You're not looking forward to more games, but I think he understands the context of the league. So I think we wanted to get one more season under our belt that wasn't a pandemic season so we could really get a sense of how it works. But I'm more open to tinkering with it if necessary." And Woj just tweeting out, guys, too. Oh, we'll get into that in a little bit. But he's previewing some of the Christmas games, so we'll get into that slate in just a moment. Stephen A., should LeBron have this much influence?
No, not a damn bit of it. Not on this issue. This is the ultimate the elder statesman of the league. He's the iconic brand in the NBA. LeBron James is in a class by himself, and what he has done for the game of basketball is to be incredibly appreciated, as always. And when he is gone, we will definitely miss him. Make no mistake about it. But that's separate and aside from this issue. The play-in tournament is about what it takes to appeal to the fans. LeBron James is a basketball player. He's the man, but he's one player. When the Lakers were bounced in the first round, we still had to watch Utah and the Clippers and Denver and all of these other things. We had to watch everybody. We had to watch the Phoenix Suns. We had to watch all of this stuff going on, okay? And then the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. We had to watch Atlanta and Milwaukee. We had to watch Milwaukee and Brooklyn or whatever. LeBron James wasn't on the court, and there was nothing he could do about ingratiating himself with those fans in those respective cities to see the teams that they wanted to see and to see the players that they wanted to see play. LeBron James is one player. And so if you're the National Basketball Association and you decide because of bubble play a few months earlier and all of this other stuff that we're going to have a play-in tournament, and it's lights out when we saw Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors going up against the Memphis Grizzlies, and we saw the other play-in games, we were fascinated by it. We were turned on by it. It was definitely a plus for the National Basketball Association. There is evidence that shows it was a plus. It was good for the business because it was good for the fans. The fans gravitated to it. We loved what we were watching and what we were seeing. I wasn't a proponent, Max. Remember, initially, I was the one against it. Remember that? And you liked it. And I said, wait a minute, Max. I had to pull my Austin Power, the spy who shagged me. I was like, yo, I got Dr. Evil with Mini-Me. I'm like, wait a minute now. I got to rethink this because I absolutely, positively loved it, and the people loved it. And so to me, regardless of how LeBron James feels, if you're just asking him about an idea that has never happened, then his say should be definitely significant, no doubt. But when there is evidence that has already been provided that shows it's in the best interest of the league, there's nothing to talk about here. We have spoken, and our voice as fans matter even more than LeBron's in this particular situation because we like what we were watching, and we've already seen the evidence that it works.
I think LeBron is wrong about this, and I especially, Stephen A., think he's wrong. Remember, and I don't know if he was meaning this literally. Remember, he said whoever came up with this idea should be fired.
Yes.
You shouldn't play like that with someone's job. But especially not when it's a good idea, LeBron. It was obviously a good idea. It was super exciting, the whole thing. That's different. Whether or not I agree with LeBron is different than asking, should he have influence? He should have influence. He's earned it. Stephen A., you bring up constantly what goes along with being the face of the NBA, right? With being a franchise player. And you harp on this as it relates to Kawhi, as it relates to others. LeBron has done that. He took the mantle from really, there's been no one in the NBA on that level in terms of representing the entire brand since Michael Jordan. You know, apologies, Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant and many others who certainly had that position, but not undisputed position for as long as LeBron has had it, like Jordan, and he's represented the brand like A++.
Yes,
and has
absolutely.
a tremendous amount of pressure and everything. He has earned influence. And here's the other thing. It's important to respect LeBron when you disagree with him. Because I've disagreed with him before. I'm like, I respect his point of view, but come on, LeBron. Remember when he was talking about how bad the condensed schedule was and what a risk they're taking in terms of injury, basically, this season? I was like, wait up, LeBron, last year, the COVID year, you did what you had to do. This year, they took 10 games off the schedule. This year, really, you're going to complain about it now? But he was right. Because unlike any postseason in the history of the NBA in my lifetime, did injury play such a big part in who won and lost? Best teams didn't win.
I still don't think it was right.
Won. Right. Yeah. Okay, fine. You might not. But I think he had a point. The point is, here I disagree with him strongly, as you do. I think the evidence has shown he's wrong. But if he's saying this, I'm sure he has good reasons, and those reasons should be heard. It doesn't mean he gets to decide, but he should be heard out.
See, let me get at you about something here. Because what you have done is do what LeBron James' camp is notorious for doing. See, do I need to put the ticker tape up when you talking now, Max? Do I need to do that?
Maybe.
You understand what I'm saying? Columbia grad, incredibly astute, a historian. Do I need to put all of that up now?
Because
now you acting like he the victim now. No, Max, I did not say LeBron does not matter and he should not have any say or whatever, period. I'm not speaking generically. I'm not speaking overall from a Max. I'm talking about this one subject matter. Why? Because we've already heard what he had to say. And we already have deduced how wrong he was. And so my point is, you take all of those things into consideration. What else is there for you to say? As far as I'm concerned, we heard you. You wanted somebody fired over that, okay? Because you thought that's how awful the idea was. We've seen the idea. We've seen it, we've seen it reach fruition. We love what we saw, and we're the ones watching. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.